keep subheading. Keep subheading. Intraphase methods. Intraphase methods. Intraphase methods. Now we have to talk about intraphase methods. Intraphase methods. Completed right up to this. Intraphase methods. Sir, every method present inside intraphase is always, just now we covered, every method present inside intraphase is always public and abstract, whether we are declaring or not. Are you getting? So maybe a chance to ask in the interview room, sir, intraphase method is always public and abstract, but maybe a chance to ask why. Why intraphase method is always public or why intraphase method is always abstract? We should aware reason also. Okay, first at this point, every method present inside intraphase, every method present inside intraphase is always public and abstract, whether we are declaring or not. Is always public and abstract whether we are declaring or not. Is always public and abstract whether we are declaring or not. Whether we are declaring or not. Declaring or not. Okay. Now just observe this one. Sir, here I am taking intraphase intraph. And I'll take special care. Here we have void M1. Void M1 is there. Sir, intraphase method is always what? Is always public. Sir, intraphase method is always public. Correct or not? Why it is the public? Of course, it is the abstract also. Why it is the public? Sir, who is responsible to implement this intraphase? Implementation class. That implementation class may be available in the same package or outside package. Both options are there. It may be available within the same package or outside package. Both options are there. That's why to make this method available to every implementation class, compulsory intraphase method should be public. Are you getting? Sir, can you tell what is the reason for that? Why this one is always public? Can you spell out what the reason? To make this method available to every implementation class. To make this method available to every implementation class, compulsory this method should be public. Are you getting? Next, why intraphase method is always abstract? Why intraphase method is always abstract? Why it is abstract? Sir, intraphase is nothing but what? One requirement specification. Boss, this is the service I want. Who is the responsible to provide implementation? Implementation class. So that's why, boss, it doesn't contain implementation. Implementation class is responsible to provide implementation. That's why this one should be abstract. It is the specification, that's all. Boss, this is the service I want. Implementation class is the responsible to provide implementation. Implementation class is responsible to provide what? Implementation. Implementation class is the responsible to provide implementation, right? Any explanation is required? Okay, at this point, intraphase intraph, take this example. Intraphase intraph void M1. Intraphase intraph void M1. Take clearly. Intraphase intraph void M1. Why it is void? Why it is public and why it is abstract? Add that reasons also. Completed, I hope. To make this method available to every implementation class, so it's always public. Why this one is always abstract? Implementation class is responsible to provide implementation. Are you able to understand, right? So why it's always public and why it's always abstract? The reason you people aware. Okay. What is the next terminology? Take a bit special care. Sir, can I use the term inside interface? Inside interface, all these method declarations are equal or not? Sir, I am taking void m1. Sir, I am taking public void m1. Or I am taking abstract void m1. Or I am taking public abstract void m1. Can I use the term all these method declarations are always equal or not? Yes, boss. These things are perfectly equal. Okay, this add. Hence inside interface. Inside interface, the following method declarations are equal. Hence, inside interface, the following method declarations are equal. Equal. Okay, first one, add all these things. Void m1, public void m1, abstract void m1. Next, public abstract void m1. Public abstract void m1. Like, completed, right? Void m1, public void m1. Next, abstract void m1, public abstract void m1. All these method declarations are equal inside interface. Completed, I hope. Okay. Now, next point. Okay, here see. Very important point. Inside interface, every method is always public or not? Is always public or not? If it is always public, we can't declare interface method with the private and protected simultaneously. Correct or not? Because it's already public, private, public, protected simultaneously won't come. Okay, this is, we can't declare with these modifiers, right? Yes, every interface method is always abstract. We can't declare with the static, with the final, with the synchronized. We covered already. Synchronized, strict FOP, native modifiers, right? Of course, private already covered. Okay. So, as every interface method is always public and abstract, we can't declare interface method with these modifiers. These modifiers are not allowed for interface methods. Are you getting? Because it's always public, is always abstract. That's why add. As every interface method is always, public and abstract. Yes, every interface method is always public and abstract. We can't declare. Yes, every interface method is always public and abstract. We can't declare interface method. We can't declare interface method with the following modifiers. We can't declare interface method with the following modifiers. Modifiers. Take this list. Private, protected, static. Take that. If you want, you can take directly as it is. So with this list of modifiers we can't declare. By mistake if you are trying to declare with this, immediately compile time error we are going to get. Because every interface method is always public. Next, every interface method is always protected. Is always abstract. We can't declare with these modifiers, right? By mistake if you are trying to declare with these modifiers, compile time error we will get. Completed, I hope. So what about interface method? Which modifiers are applicable? Why it's always public and abstract? So completed, right? Now this total discussion let me convert into a bit style. Take a bit, Anna. Take a bit. Which of the following method declarations are allowed? Which of the following method declarations are allowed? Which of the following method declarations are allowed inside interface? Which of the following method declarations are allowed inside interface? Which of the following method declarations are allowed inside interface? Inside interface. Okay, take all these things from the screen. Take all. Public void m1. Take all these things and you have to decide which are valid, which are invalid. Like inside interface, which methods are valid, which methods are invalid, you have to take. Public void m1, private void m1, next protected void m1, public void m1, private void m1, protected void m1, static void m1, next public abstract native void m1, public abstract native void m1. Completed, I hope. Public void m1, private void m1, protected void m1. Completed, right? Next, abstract public void m1, like we have these modifiers, you know. So can you tell among these which are valid, which are invalid inside interface? First one, valid or invalid? Invalid, because abstract method compulsory should answer with a semicolon. Second one, invalid, private is not allowed, protected is not allowed, static is not allowed, native not allowed. Last one, abstract public void m1, valid, because order of modifiers is not important, either public abstract or abstract public, no problem at all. Okay, that's all. This is so what about interface methods, right? Okay, next up, keep subheading interface variables. Interface variables. Interface variables. So an interface can contain variables. You know, an interface can contain variables, right? Sir, what is the need of interface variable? Simple. Sir, this is my requirement specification. This is, sir, can you please implement college automation system? In the college automation system, college name, wherever college name is required, can you please spell out software? Wherever college name is required, implement Durga software. Wherever location is required, can you please implement Hyderabad? Like wherever location is required, wherever college name is required, is nothing but Durga Soft, Hyderabad, like. Okay, so this is dot, like you should aware. Okay, now my point is, while implementing this requirement specification, if anywhere location is required, college name is required, better to use these things. How we can specify this? By declaring interface variables. Are you getting? Sir, these are services I want. M1 method, M2 method, M3 method, M4 method. While implementing these services, if anywhere college name is required, use this one. If anywhere location is required, use this one. If anywhere mobile number is required, use this one. Like so requirement level constants, if you want to define, then we can go for what? Interface variables. Sir, inside interface these are the variable and these are the services what I want. Are you able to understand? So can I conclude interface can contain variables or not? Interface can contain variables or not? Yes. What is the main purpose of interface variable? To define requirement level constants. Sir, in this requirement, these constants you can use while implementing these methods, right? Okay. To define requirement level constants, interface can contain variables, right? Okay. This is first add. An interface can contain. An interface can contain variables. An interface can contain variables. An interface can contain variables. The main purpose of interface variable is to define requirement level constants. To define requirement level constants. Okay. Like so what is interface variable? What is the purpose, right? Next, do you know every interface variable is always public, static, final. Whether we are declaring or not, every interface variable is always public, static, final. Then immediately you may ask, sir, why it's always public, or why it's always static, or why it's always final? Just observe the reasons, right? Here see, sir, I am taking interface int x is equal to 10, like I am taking. Assume that. Sir, do you know here interface variable, okay, every interface variable is always public. Correct or not? Every interface variable is always public. Sir, why? What is the reason why interface variable is always public? Can you tell who is going to use this interface variable? Implementation class. So implementation class may be available in the same package or outside package. That's why, okay, to make this variable available to every implementation class, it's always public. Okay. So what is the reason? To make this variable available to every implementation class. To make this variable available to every implementation class. So this variable is always public. Sir, can you tell why interface variable is always static? What is the reason for that? Public, static, final. Why it's always static? Simple. Listen. Sir, is it possible to create an object for interface? No. If it is not possible to create an object, without existing object, my implementation class can access. Without existing object, if you want to access a variable, compulsory that variable should be static. Without existing object, because you can't create an object for interface, without existing object we can access a variable. Compulsory this variable should be static variable, right? Okay. Sir, without existing object, implementation class can access this variable. Okay. Implementation class can access this variable. That's why it should be static. Are you getting? Next, third one. What is the third modifier? Public, static, final. Then immediately you ask why it is the final. Simple, legend. Don't write. Simple. Why it is always final? Sir, in the morning somewhere we covered JDBC API. Who is the responsible to define JDBC API? Some people is the responsible to define JDBC API. Who is the responsible to provide implementation? Database vendor. How many vendors are there? Is it only one or multiple? multiple. Sir, here Oracle people, IBM people, MySQL people, like. Are you getting? So this interface can be accessed by multiple implementation classes. Correct or not? Multiple. If one implementation class change this variable into x is equal to n is there, first implementation class change as 20. Is that effect will be there for the remaining or not? Yes, because for all implementation classes it is a common variable. Then if one implementation class is allowed to change, the remaining implementation classes will be affected. So how I can restrict boss implementation class? If you want, you can access, but you can't modify. How I can specify, declare this variable as final, because multiple implementation classes are available, right? Okay, so here what is the reason why it's always final? If one implementation class changes value, if one implementation class changes value, then remaining implementation classes will be affected. Then remaining implementation classes will be affected. Remaining implementation classes will be affected. To restrict this, every interface variable is always is always final. Are you able to understand? Sir, every interface variable is always public static final, whether we are declaring or not. Why it's always public? Why it is the static? Why it is the final? Clear for you, right? Okay, at this point, every interface variable is always public static final. Every interface variable is always public static final, whether we are declaring or not. Is always public static final, whether we are declaring or not. Okay, take this code now. Interface interrupt, within that int x is equal to 10. Interface interrupt int x is equal to 10. Why this one is always public? To make this variable available to every implementation class. To make this variable available to every implementation class. To make this variable available to every implementation class. Next, without existing object also, implementation class has to access this variable. Without existing object also, implementation class has to access this variable. Without existing object also, implementation class has to access this variable. Has to access this variable. Next, why it's always final? If one implementation class changes value, then remaining implementation classes will be affected. If one implementation class changes value, then remaining implementation classes will be affected. To restrict this, every interface variable is always final. To restrict this, every interface variable is always final. is always final. Are you getting the point right? If one implementation class changes value, then the remaining implementation classes will be affected. To restrict this, every interface variable is always final, so that implementation class can't change value, but it can access. I hope clear. Okay, so every interface variable is always what? Public, static, final, whether we are declaring or not. Okay, this is. Can I use the word within the interface? Can I complete it right up to this? So can I use the word within the interface? All these variable declarations are equal or not? Can you please cross check? Within the interface, all these are equal or not? What is the first one? Int x is equal to 10. Second one, public int x, static int x, final int x, public static, public final, static final, public static final. All are equal or not? Yes, at this point. Hence, within the interface, the following variable declarations are equal. Hence, within the interface, the following variable declarations are equal. The following variable declarations are equal. The following variable declarations are equal. Okay, take all those. Int x is equal to 10, public int x is equal to 10, int x is equal to 10, public int x is equal to 10, static int x is equal to 10, next one, public static int x is equal to 10, public final int x is equal to 10, static final int x is equal to 10, next public static final int x is equal to 10, public static final int x is equal to 10, like completed, right? So these are the things what you people should aware, okay, related to interface variables, right? Yes, better to use a word like this. You took several lines equal, either at the beginning or at last. Better to spell out all these lines equal, like, okay. Next, there are few conclusions are there related to interface variable. And now listen very carefully. Every interface variable is always public, correct or not? Is always public. Next is always static, is always final. Sir, every interface variable is always public, static, final. Sir, now my question is, it is already public. Is it possible to declare with the private? No. Is it possible to declare with the protected? No. So private, protected, such type of terminology not applicable for interface variable. Sir, here for the interface, is it possible to create an object? No. If the object is not there, serialization concept is not there, because serialization means saving state of an object. Object itself is not there, automatically serialization is not there. If a serialization is not there, transient keyword required or not required? Not required. That's why for interface variables, transient keyword not at all applicable. Transient keyword not applicable. Sir, every variable present inside interface is always public, static, final. Final means volatile keyword, is it possible or not possible? In the morning we covered final volatile combination is illegal combination for variables. So because it's already final, then you can't declare with what? Volatile modifier, right? That's why these modifiers not applicable for interface variables. Are you able to understand? Because every interface variable is always what? Public static final. These modifiers are not applicable for interface variables. Okay, add. Next point. Yes, every interface variable is always, yes, every interface variable is always, yes, every interface variable is always private, sorry, yes, every interface variable is always public static final. Yes, every interface variable is always public static final, always public static final. We can't declare with the following modifiers. We can't declare with the following modifiers. We can't declare with the following modifiers. With the following modifiers. We can't declare with the following modifiers. Modifiers. Okay, take all. Public static final, private protected transient volatile. Private protected transient volatile. Private protected transient volatile. Completed, I hope. Private protected transient volatile. So we can't, there is no such type of terminology, right? Can I complete it, right? Okay, this is one thing what you people should aware. Next. So there is one very important conclusion related to these interface variables. Listen this one. Sir, every interface variable is always public static final. In the last class somewhere we covered static final variables or final static variables. Have you remembered? Types of variables, I mean final variables like final static. Can you please cross check in your notes? Is it there or not? Final instance variable, final static variable, final local variables. Ayo, is it there? So yesterday or some, so we covered final static variable. So have you remembered, if the static variable declared as the final, JVM won't provide any default values. Compulsory we should perform initialization explicitly. Is there any rule we covered? Can you please cross check? Rule. We covered some rule. What is the rule? For final static variables, compulsory we should perform initialization before class loading completion. Sir, before class loading completion, we have to perform initialization, right? Now, here say this one. Sir, before class loading completion means, how many options are there? Two options. One is at the time of declaration. Second one is what? Inside static block. But here say this one. Sir, final, of course, int x. Int x, at the time of declaration, one option. Second option, inside where? Inside static block. But very important, for interface, static block concept is not there. That's why static block concept, you can't declare static block inside interface. So interface can contain methods and variable. You can't take static block, instance block, constructor like. That's why static block is not there. If the static block is not there, then for this final static variable, where we have to perform initialization? Compulsory at the time of declaration only. Very important point. For interface variable, compulsory we should perform initialization at the time of declaration only. By mistake, if you are not performing, compile time error we will get. Just observe this one. Sir, interface interrupt. Here I am taking int x, that's all. Interface interrupt int x, that's it. Immediately compile time error we are going to get. Saying equal symbol expected. Saying equal symbol expected. Because after x, immediately I am expecting what? Equal symbol like. Just observe this one. Sir, yeah, say this point well. Okay. Sir, here I am taking 1 minute. Just I'm taking interface interrupt dot java like I'm taking. Sir, interface interrupt int x, that's all. I'm not taking anything, int x, that's it. So now observe Java C interrupt dot Java. Compile time error we are going to get. Can you please read what is that error? Equal expected, right? Now what I'm taking? Equal symbol I'm taking, because it is expecting what? Equal. That's why equal symbol I'm taking. Then immediately compiler is going to give left and right. Equal means after equal something you have to take. Illegal start of expression or not a statement like illegal start of expression like compile time error. So int x is equal to 10. Valid or not? Valid. Make sure you people should aware clearly, right? So another important point related to interface variable. For interface variable, compulsory we should perform initialization at the time of declaration. Otherwise the code won't compile. Compile time error we will get. Okay, at this point. For interface variables, compulsory we should perform initialization. Compulsory we should perform initialization at the time of declaration. Compulsory we should perform initialization at the time of declaration. Otherwise at the time of declaration, otherwise we will get compile time error. Otherwise we will get compile time error. Okay, take this part. Interface interrupt int x. Interface interrupt int x. So what compile time error we will get? Equal expected. Equal symbol expected. Like compile time error we are going to get, right? Equal symbol expected. Like, are you able to understand, right? Equal symbol expected. Like a compile time error we will get. Not required to keep any explanation, right? Okay. So this total discussion, let me convert into a bit style. Okay, take a bit. Inside interface, which of the following variable declarations are allowed? Inside interface, which of the following variable declarations are allowed? Which of the following variable declarations are allowed? Allowed. Okay, take all these things. Which of the following variable declarations are allowed? Int x. Next, private int x is equal to 10. Private int x is equal to 10. Private int x is equal to 10. Protected int x is equal to 10. Protected int x is equal to 10. Volatile transient. One minute. Volatile transient int x is equal to 10. Next, public static int x is equal to 10. Public static int x is equal to 10. Sir, can you tell inside interface which variable declarations are allowed? First one, second. First one is invalid because interface variable compulsory we should perform initialization at the time of declaration. Second one invalid. Third one invalid. Fourth one invalid. Volatile. Transient invalid. Last one public static int x is equal to 10. Valid or invalid? This one valid, no problem at all. Okay, like. So I hope clear, right? Okay. Only last one. Okay, this is last one in the, give the tick mark for last. Now the last point related to interface variables. Okay, legend. Last point here, observe. Sir, I am taking interface interrupt. Sir, I am taking interface interrupt. Within that, int x is equal to 10 I am taking. Interface interrupt into x is equal to 10. Now my first implementation class, sir, class test implements interrupt. Class test implements interrupt public static void main method, public static void main string array args. Within the x is equal to 777, I am taking system dot out dot println of x. Okay, like this I am taking. Now second one, class test implements interrupt, class test implements interrupt. Next, public static void main method string array args, public static void main string array args int x is equal to 777 system dot out dot println of x, and x is equal to 777 SOP of x. Sir, can you tell, is it valid or invalid? First one, second one. First one, valid or invalid? Invalid. What is the reason? Because, sir, interface variables are available to implementation class, but within that we can access but we can't modify, because interface variable is always what? Final. That's why here what compile time error we will get, cannot assign a value, cannot assign a value to final variable x. This is the compile time error we will get, because we are trying to change x value. X is the 10. Now I am changing as 777. Can you tell second one, valid or invalid? Valid or invalid? Valid, because this x and this x nowhere related. It is the local variable of main method. Sir, I am declaring once again local variable. But here I am not declaring, I am using means this variable x only. That's why here this is a local variable but not interface variable. Perfectly 777 is the answer, SOP of x. Are you getting? So inside implementation class we can access interface variable but we can't modify their values. Okay, add inside implementation class, we can access, inside implementation class we can access interface variables, we can access interface variables, but we can't modify values, we can access interface variables but we can't modify values, that's all. Take this example, take clearly. Take. So cannot assign a value to final variable yes b, cannot assign a final variable x. So the first one is nothing but invalid, but second one is the valid because it is the local variable, right? Take a bit special, so care. All these are various internal loopholes related to interface variables. Completed, right? I hope completed itself. That's all. Take clearly. So in the last session, just we covered about interface. What is the different interface? How to declare? Next, how we can provide implementation for the interface. Next, extends versus implements. A bit dangerous keywords. Where we have to use extends, where we have to use implements, syntactical related issues, and then we did postmortem on interface methods, interface variables. Are getting up to that we covered, right? Now in this session, my requirement is, sir, interface naming conflicts are there. Sir, method level, how the naming conflicts, variable level, how the naming conflicts, I will explain first, and after completing that, the most valuable concept for the interview room, what is marker interface, next what is adapter classes, and then what is when we should go for interface, abstract class, concrete class, and the differences between interface and abstract classes, right? These are things we have to discuss. Okay, this is first keep studying interface naming conflicts. Interface naming conflicts. Interface naming conflicts. In the first one, interface naming conflicts. In that first one, method naming conflicts. Method naming conflicts. First one, method naming conflicts. Method naming conflicts. Okay. Now here make sure you people should aware clearly, right? So method and naming conflicts. Best example here, see. So before starting my discussion, I have one important question for you. A Java class can implement any number of interfaces, correct or not? A Java class can implement any number of interfaces, correct or not? Yes. So don't change your answer. So be strict to that answer only. A Java class can implement any number of interfaces, no problem at all. Don't change your answer anyway, right? Now I have two interfaces are there. Of course, my favorite interfaces are these. Interface left. Okay, interface left. So first interface contain public void m1 method. Interface left. Next one, interface right. Interface left. Interface right. Right interface also contain public void m1 method, right? And two interfaces contains a method with the same signature. Have you observed? m1 and with the same return type. Sir, I want to implement both interfaces simultaneously. I want to implement both interfaces simultaneously. Class test implements left comma right. Class test implements left and right. Sir, in the implementation class, for how many methods we have to provide implementation? In the implementation class, for how many method? Sir, here public void m1. There also what is that one? Public void m1. Then in the implementation class, we have to provide implementation only for one method. By default itself is enough. You are getting public void m1, that's all. For only one method, by default itself is nothing but enough. Are you able to understand that? Okay, this is. So make sure if two interfaces contains a method with the same signature and the same return type, in the implementation class, for one method implementation is by default enough. Okay. Now left a person came. Sir, where is my implementation? Array, what is your requirement? Public void m1. This is your implementation. Public void m1 like. Immediately right person also came. Sir, where is my requirement? Where is my implementation? What is your requirement? Public void m1. Array, public void m1 this is. Same method implementation. So works for both interfaces, there is no problem because their requirement is nothing but same. Are you getting that? Sir, they don't want same implementation, they want a different implementation, then we should go for different classes. Are you able to understand that? Okay, this is because both people require same implementation, then I can provide one method implementation which implement both interfaces simultaneously. Clear for all of you? So here we are not seeing any conflict. Okay, add case 1. Case 1. If two interfaces contains if two interfaces contains a method, if two interfaces contains a method with the same signature, if two interfaces contains a method with the same signature, if two interfaces contains a method with the same signature and the same return type, with the same signature and the same return type, same signature and the same return type, same signature and same return type, then in the implementation class, we have to provide implementation. Then in the implementation class, we have to provide implementation. We have to provide implementation for only one method. We have to provide implementation for only one method. We have to provide implementation for only one method. For only one method. Okay, that's all. Take this example now. If two interfaces contains a method with the same signature and the same return type, in the implementation class, one method implementation is by default enough. We are not required to provide implementation two times. One method implementation itself is enough. Are you able to understand, right? So this is the case one we have. If two interfaces contains a method with the same signature, same return type, completed, I hope. Okay, so clear for you people. Next one, this is the case 1. Like, sir, case 2, but before that let me ask once again the same question, right? A Java class can implement any number of interfaces simultaneously, correct or not? Correct or not? Okay, don't keep any doubt, don't change your answer. Okay, this is now legend this one. Sir, now case 2, observe a small change I want to make. Public void m1, public void m1 of int I. Sir, public void m1 of int I. Two interfaces contains a method with the same name but different argument types. Same name but different argument types. Sir, can you tell in the implementation class for how many methods we require to provide implementation? Both methods, because sir, this is implementation for m1. You can't show this is the implementation for this m1. No, because argument is the different. That's why compulsory we should go for implementation for second method also. Public void m1 of int I. Public void m1 of int I. Sir, if two interfaces contain a method with the same name and a different argument types, okay, in the implementation class for both methods we have to provide implementation, and these methods are by default considered as overloaded methods. Correct or not? These methods are by default considered as what? Overloaded methods. Okay, this make sure at this point. Case 2. If two interfaces contains a method with the same name, but different argument types. Contains a method with the same name but different argument types. Contains a method with the same name but different argument types. Then in the implementation class, we have to provide implementation. Then in the implementation class we have to provide implementation. implementation for both methods. We have to provide implementation for both methods, for both methods, for both methods, for both methods. And these methods acts as, and these methods acts as overloaded methods. And these methods acts as overloaded methods. These methods acts as overloaded methods. Overloaded. These methods acts as overloaded methods. Overloaded methods. Methods. Are you getting? So this is, take this example now. Interface left, public void m1. Interface right, public void m1. Interface left, interface right, interface left, right. So methods with the same name but different argument types. Same name but different argument types, of course. Class test implements left and right. Class test implements left and right, like completed, right? Public void m1, public void m1 of int I. Completed, I hope. Okay, so this is about what is the method, I mean, so overloaded methods, right? Okay, make sure you people should have clarity. Okay, this is the case 2. Now I have one important, of course, same question, let me repeat once again. Is a Java class can implement any number of interfaces simultaneously? Are possible or not? Ayo, voice is going down, I don't know the reason. Nah. A Java class can implement any number of interfaces simultaneously. Correct or not? Huh? Yes, sir. Sure? Ayo, confident, right? A Java class can implement any number of interfaces simultaneously. Correct? Okay, don't change your answer. Okay, this is, don't change. Now we are very nearer to that particular discussion. Interface left, public void m1. Interface right, public int m1. Sir, public int m1. Interface left, interface right. Now class test implements left and right. Okay, sir, can you tell for how many methods we have to provide implementation? For how many methods we should provide implementation? One method or two methods? One method or two methods I have to provide implementation. So okay, for both methods we should provide implementation, because here void but here int, both are not same. That's why let me take what is the first implementation here is public void m1 method is my first method implementation. Second method implementation, public int m1 return some 10, because int is the return type, right? Sir, this is, if I can take like this, compiler will give left and right. What is the reason? You know. Sir, what is the signature of this method? m1. What is the signature of this method? m1. Within a class, two methods with the same signature not allowed. By mistake, if you are trying to take compile a method, you are going to get. That's why this one 100% pakka. This one is nothing but not possible. You can't provide. m1 is already defined in test. This is the compile method we are going to get. Then how I can implement? Correct. There is a possibility. How we can? Sir, within this class, both methods you can't take. Correct, right? That is the problem. Both methods you can't take. What you can do? Take only one method. And declare class as abstract. Then where we have to provide implementation for the remaining method? Child class. Good. Here class subtest extends test. Okay. Here can you tell what is the implementation? Public What the remaining method? Public int m1, public int m1 return some 10 like this I'm taking. Public int m1 return 10 like this I'm taking, right? Now observe, if I can take like this, compiler will give left and right once again. Sir, it won't. So this one is nothing but wrong approach, right? What is the problem? You may ask, what is the problem? Parent class and child class, a method with the same signature. What is this concept? Overriding. In overriding, return types must be same. But here void means compulsory here also should be void only. Sir, you are trying to override m1 in subtest. Cannot override m1 in test. Attempting to assign incompatible return type. Okay, found int required void, like exact compatible method you are going to get. So this approach also won't work. Then what is the way? Have you observed, sir? I want to implement both interfaces simultaneously. Can you tell the way? Because you told very confidently, a Java class can implement any number of interfaces simultaneously. Can you tell, now I want to implement both interfaces simultaneously, what is the way? Don't tell, sir, take a separate class for left, take a separate class for the right. I don't want. I want to implement both interfaces simultaneously. Can you spell out the way? Inner class also face the same problem. Normal top level class facing the problem, same problem by default will be. If you are implementing left m1, inner class implements right m1, taking separate classes right. I don't want. I want to keep implements left comma right. Both interfaces simultaneously I want to implement. What is the way? Because you told very confidently, a Java class can implement any number of interfaces simultaneously. Yes, now can you tell what is the answer? Why? How you can implement this one? Yes? Ayo. You told very confidently, right? Yes, a Java class can implement any number of interfaces simultaneously. Even I asked 5 times or 6 times the same question. Every time your answer is the fixed, same. Can you tell how we can implement both interfaces simultaneously in this requirement? Okay, simple answer for that, it is impossible to implement. Okay, don't the break your heads. Is nothing but here, nothing is. It is impossible to implement both interfaces simultaneously. So, is a Java class can implement more than one interface at a time? Was general answer is yes, except if two interfaces contains a method with the same signature but different return types. Same signature but different return types, it is impossible to implement both interfaces simultaneously. Are you getting that? Okay, this is. But if these return types are covariant return types, then possible, because one is object, second one is string. Object I will keep in the parent, string I will keep in the child. Object return type, string return. Covariant acceptable. But if there is no covariance between the return types, then it is impossible to implement both interfaces simultaneously. Clear for all of you, right? Okay, at this point. Case 3. If two interfaces contains a method, with the same signature, if two interfaces contains a method with the same signature, but different return types, contains a method with the same signature but different return types, contains a method with the same signature but different return types, contains a method with the same signature but different return types, then it is impossible to implement both interfaces simultaneously. It is impossible to implement both interfaces simultaneously. Are you getting? Impossible to implement both interfaces simultaneously. Within bracket, if return types are not covariant, this rule is came from 1.5 version onwards. If return types are not covariant, remember that point also. If return types are not covariant, not covariant, not covariant. Are you getting the point right? Okay, this is next. Add example. Interface left. Add example. Interface left. Public void M1. Interface right. Public int M1. Interface left. Public void M1. Interface right. Public int M1. Public int M1. M1. Have you observed right? Here the theory. We can't write any Java class. We can't write any Java class. We can't write any Java class. Java class which implements. We can't write any Java class which implements both interfaces simultaneously. We can't write any Java class which implements both interfaces simultaneously. Which implements both interfaces simultaneously. Both interfaces simultaneously. Simultaneously. Both interfaces simultaneously. Okay, that's all. Are you getting the point right? Okay, this is. So this is what you people should require to remember, right? Sir, now I will ask once again the same question. Is a Java class can implement any number of interfaces simultaneously? Ayo? The answer should be yes. Yes. Except a particular case. Are you getting? What is that particular case? If two interfaces contain a method with the same signature but a different return type, then it is impossible to implement. Add. Better to take question form. Question form. Is a Java class can implement? Is a Java class can implement? Is a Java class can implement any number of interfaces simultaneously? Is a Java class can implement any number of interfaces simultaneously? Is a Java class can implement any number of interfaces simultaneously? Simultaneously. Simultaneously. Answer. Yes. 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 Except a particular case. Yes, except a particular case. Except a particular case. Particular case. So what that case also you have to tell. Add. If two interfaces contains a method, if two interfaces contains a method with the same signature, contains a method with the same signature, contains a method with the same signature, but different return types, contains a method with the same signature but different return types, then it is impossible to implement both interfaces simultaneously. Then it is impossible to implement both interfaces simultaneously. Impossible to implement both interfaces simultaneously. That's all. I hope you people can aware. Okay. Interface method naming conflicts is nothing but clear, I hope. Now keep submitting. Okay. Next topic. Next. Interface variable naming conflicts. Second category. Variable naming conflicts. Interface variable naming conflicts. Interface variable naming conflicts. Variable naming conflicts. Variable naming conflicts. Okay. Now observe very carefully about this one. Interface naming, variable naming conflicts. Sir, if two interfaces contains a variable with the same name, possible or not? Yes. Best example, sir, interface left interface contain int x is equal to 777. Next, interface right interface right within that int x is equal to 888. Interface left, interface right. Now class test implements left and right. Class test implements left and right. Okay, like this. So now my target is, sir, public static void main method string array args. Public static void main string array args. Now my requirement is, sir, I want to print SOP of x. Are you getting? I want to print SOP of x. From left one x came, from right another x came. Can you tell either code is valid or not? I mean, what is the output? Which x value will be considered? Left x value or right x value or compile time error? Compile time error. Reference to x is ambiguous because from both it's coming. So compile time error saying reference to x is ambiguous. Reference to x is ambiguous, like compile time error we are going to get. Sir, how I can solve this problem? Not required to worry, there is a solution. Because every variable is always what? Static, public static final. How we can access static variables, Anna? By using class name. Sir, by using class name or by using interface name. Sir, I want a left interface x value. Simple. System.out.println left dot x. SOP left dot x is nothing but like, what is the answer by default we are going to get? 777 is the answer. SOP of left dot x 777. SOP of right dot x. Are you getting? Right dot x. What is the answer by default we are going to get? 888 is the answer. I hope you people can aware clearly, right? Okay, this is make sure. So two interfaces can contain a variable with the same name. Possible, no problem at all. And there may be a chance of ambiguity problem also, but we can solve this problem by using interface names. Clear for all of you, right? At this point, two interfaces can contain a variable with the same name. Two interfaces can contain a variable with the same name. Two interfaces can contain a variable with the same name. A variable with the same name. And there may be a chance of variable naming conflicts. There may be a chance of variable naming conflicts. But we can solve this problem. We can solve this problem by using interface names. But we can solve this problem by using interface names. But we can solve this problem by using interface names. Are you getting? So this is what interface variable naming conflict. Method naming conflict solution is there. Variable naming conflict is nothing but this. Method naming conflicts, no solution. Variable naming conflict, solution is there. No problem at all, right? Okay, take this example. So completed, right? So make sure you people should aware what is method naming conflicts and a variable naming conflicts. So you should have clear clarity, right? Not required to keep much explanation about this one. Completed, right? Okay.